Atalanta, 3 goals without reply against Juventus.
It's been another one of those seasons for Juve, another one where some supporters are just waiting for the season to finish, as the only thing to play for now is Champions League football at this point. But that's the glass half empty view. Well, it's also truthful, I guess, but the less than positive view. The other side is that maybe, just maybe, Juventus have a project worth investing in at this time, thanks to the man who is at the helm of it, Luciano Spalletti.
Poi abbiamo deciso di prolungare questo contratto per altri 2 anni.
To go over how Juve's goals have changed, how their style has changed, and so much more about them this season and the future, my friend Beppe is joining me from Jesus Juve. It's been a while. He's the standard for Juve coverage on YouTube, so be sure to check him out as a collaborator on this video, okay? Now, let's begin.
Less than 24 hours after Juventus has lost to Lazio, the club parted ways with manager Igor Tudor.
Now, under Igor Tudor, who's, being made permanent was divisive, the goal was to compete for the title without really dreaming of winning it. But with Tudor's failings, Spalletti comes in. Now, Spalletti isn't your average overly used and recycled coach who has managed half of the teams in the division and hasn't managed to keep a job for longer than a year kind of guy. Spalletti is a coach who is loved by many, and I guess equally criticized by many as well, and who has won Serie A and a couple Coppa Italias. In other words, Spalletti is more the kind of coach you appoint in the summer, not in October. But hey, when an opportunity arises, you gotta take it. Results were up and down at times. Juve have fallen out of each of the competitions, and now
Juve is out of that race since the month of January, if not already in December. So you go with a purely financial objective, that is reaching the qualification of Champions League to be attractive on the market, to actually build instead of rebuilding.
And that is the key, isn't it? Because how many times have Juve, and not just Juve, but plenty of clubs can relate to this, but how many have been stuck in this cycle of rebuilding? They bring in a hot property of a coach or a manager. They back them in the market as well as they can. They inevitably sack them. And then the caretaker or next appointment comes in, has to make do with the signings from the previous guy that don't match their own vision for the team. They do well for a time. Inevitably, they start to nosedive. They get sacked, and the cycle repeats itself over and over. Now, despite the results being up and down, Juve have at times played some of the nicest football in Serie A. Not all the time, of course. They haven't always been easy on the eyes, but every now and then under Spalletti, you see these little splashes, these little flashes of influence for a sustained period of time, and it reminds you of who he is and what he's capable of doing with clubs when he's allowed to build. Remember how incredible Napoli were to watch. And so, about 6 or so months after signing with Juve, he's already had his contract extended to 2028. You have the CEO and sporting directors placing their trust in Luciano Spalletti, choosing to stop jumping from coach to coach to coach. Juve has had 6 appointments in 7 years. They have a proven winner, and so it's time to settle in with him at the helm, to stabilize things, and have a clear picture of how they want to go forward. But there's another aspect to it. It's not just the fact that Spalletti's a proven winner.
It's one that has knowledge about Serie A, about teams, but also that leadership. Juventus is a team, if we are speaking about players, that is really lacking a lot of leadership, of maturity. So that father figure of Spalletti reassures a lot of people. And on top of that, when he entered at Juve, starting with his first game on the 1st of November, maybe it's a coincidence, but the same day that Juventus was founded in 1897. Well, since that day, he had a really beautiful impact on players, on the clubs, and also on the fans, because Juventus is still dragging that war between I love Allegri, I hate Allegri, I believe in an emerging coach like Thiago Motta, I don't believe in, or I love the coach that was linked with a huge big history of Juve that is there with passion, with DNA, like Igor Tudor. So there are these fights between the different ideas, typology of coaches, and what it should represent, while Spalletti is more or less convincing the most haters, no-sayers, believers, and that's already a big one.
As mentioned, results have been up and down. Juve's season, with their elimination at the hands of Galatasaray, was essentially over at the end of February. That's when the shift goes from winning things to financial, as Beppe mentioned. Make the Champions League, right? Well, for some, this is a pointless time of the season. This is an extremely precious time for Spalletti and the squad as they try to bring something back to Juve, football that can entertain the supporters, perhaps even more importantly, a brand that the players enjoy playing.
We're looking for a bit more entertaining modern football, which in the last 3 years at Juve was not really the priority. We see a balanced plus coach. So yes, balance is important, but if he need to choose, he will go towards an offensive football. He's thinking forward, scoring one more than conceding one. It's not a static football anymore. And then if you're speaking about that mentality change, we see players that are having fun. They are enjoying the moment. They are enjoying parts of the game, which a lot of time in the recent season, we saw players that were fighting for that minimum objective. Today, you see players that are smiling, that are celebrating, that are really enjoying scoring a goal, not only individual, but as a group, going to the coach, celebrating with the coach. It's much better to see joy in the eyes of players that are enjoying what they are doing, because at long term, it starts with that. You love what you do, and then the performance will come, and then the result will follow.
And as things go with a new manager coming in, there is always someone who rises to the occasion or has their game risen by the manager. Weston McKennie is someone who has remained an important part of the squad for many years now, someone who has really managed to make themselves a fan favorite at Juve. And under Spalletti, he's continued to be exactly that, continued to be just as important within the squad, filling in a variety of different positions: right midfield, attacking midfielder, playing deeper in the midfield, playing on the left. He's been everywhere, but not just filling in. Playing incredibly well there. He's value added to those positions. McKennie playing well isn't so much of a surprise for Juventus supporters, right? But the increased performance of another player within the squad certainly was. Now, after Euro 2020, yeah, we're going way back, Manuel Locatelli was one of the most sought-after signatures in Serie A, following a couple of great seasons with Sassuolo. He had some great moments with Juve, of course. He also had some moments where his performances dipped. And due to those dips, the coach of the Italian national team snubbed him, didn't call him up for 2 international windows in a row in 2025, March and June. The coach of the Italian national team, of course, Luciano Spalletti. So the assumption was, amongst many supporters at least, as Beppe went over in our conversation, was that Locatelli's time was up at Juve, that he would be on the bench, that Spalletti would continue not rating him, and his opportunities would be limited because of that. But as both men are professionals, what was in the past was in the past. And Locatelli has gotten better and better and better as time has gone on under Spalletti, once again showing why he was entrusted as the captain at Juve.
They discovered themselves again. And Locatelli is providing performance after performance after performance. The increase of level of Locatelli is immense under Spalletti. And I tell you, this was probably the biggest challenge for him, because nobody would have bet on Locatelli doing well.
Of course, there are others too. Kalulu has improved. Yildiz is continuing to set the world alight. He's an alien, as has been said. And I said this to Beppe, it's always special when you get to watch an incredible talent really become that world beater live before your eyes. I don't watch every Juve match, obviously, so whenever I check back in, I can see little improvements in Yildiz's game every single time. I can just see, how much more difficult it is to get the ball off of him for defenders. Improvements in decision-making, in his final ball, his finish, what have you. It's all improving. But there is a bit of a profile missing within Juve's squad still. Yes, Spalletti is a leader of the club, and Spalletti knows how to win. But what about on the pitch? Every coach needs a general on the pitch and in the locker room, someone who can lead both through their performance and their experience.
The priority, and if you are following a bit the transfer market of Juve, this is what you will identify a lot of time. The names that are linked with Juve are experienced players, leaders, players with maturity, players that already won, players that already know what it is to play in a big club. You hear the names of Bernardo Silva, Rudiger, and much more of these kinds of free transfer, because financially it's not that Juventus is a club that can allow themselves to spend without checking at the bank account. But that's the first thing. Juventus is still a club that at today, even if you see progresses, even if you start to see joy, at the first difficulty start to doubt themselves. We are not yet bring that fear in the eyes of our opponent, something that Juve was known for in that cycle of the 9 Scudetti won in a row.
But there's also the striker position. And look, I love Jonathan David. As a Canadian, of course I love him. But I know all too well how he can float in and out of matches, float in and out of form pretty violently, be completely invisible at times, and then put in a great performance to fill you with hope. He can be very inconsistent. Due to Openda not working at all, and with Vlahovic injured, Spalletti has mentioned that he needs a striker. He's so desperate, he's been playing Jeremy Boga as a kind of false 9. Then there's the midfield where beyond Thuram and Locatelli, you're looking at inexperienced players like Miretti and Adzic, so reinforcements are needed in the midfield as well. But I think the biggest things when I look at Juventus from an outsider's perspective, I think they are already in place. You have a great coach, in my opinion, in Luciano Spalletti, who plays a great brand of football that the fans enjoy, but almost more importantly, the players enjoy as well. This is an incredible change. But on top of that, you have a Spalletti who is not only looking to set his reputation back on track after the Italy disaster, but also
reconfirming Spalletti and him accepting also to stay at Juve is fundamental because this is last contract. He's 67. And I believe that also for him, it will be a make or break. Because at today, in all the years where he did beautiful things at Empoli, Udinese, Inter, twice at Roma, well, the only team which he won with was Napoli in a strange year. A year of World Cup in the middle of the year, Qatar, which was strange because he didn't lose a lot of players. So this year, 26, 27, and probably also 27, 28, will make him enter the pantheon of the huge big coaches of Italy, or a coach that, yes, it was fantastic, he delivered the most of a team, but without consistently win.
So looking at the next 2 years that he's contracted through, the goal is quite clear. Win domestically, win Serie A, something Juve haven't done for what will be 6 years come the end of the season, which is crazy. But more than that, Spalletti is seen as a man who can potentially help to achieve 2 big goals for the club.
Not only winning, but doing it with an ambitious style of play, which is different at Juve, because you had the ambition to change your game, but then you failed, or you had the reassurance we win no matter how. Well, I think that vision is changing slightly, and that's not because of Spalletti, but because of the management that really want to couple both. And Spalletti is the ideal man to try to do both.
So we'll see. It's really crazy that after 9 Scudetti in 9 years, Juve have spent 2/3 of that amount of time, 66%, 6 years, without winning a Scudetto. It's unreal. But guys, thanks once again to Beppe, as always, for his insight on this one. And thank you for joining me. I'll have Champions League coverage this week as well, so join me for that. Other than that, though, take care, guys. Thanks for watching.